sacrifice and the many gifts it will bring. And how do we go from being sacrificed to the ones who sacrifice? Sacrifice is restoration. Nothing really comes to us without worship and sacrifice. Worship and sacrifice. These days, faith is a dirty word which makes worship practically unmentionable. Worship is defined as the feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity. Sacrifice is defined as an act of slaughtering an animal or person or surrendering a possession as an offering to God, to a divine or supernatural figure. Let's start with sacrifice. Pushing slaughtering aside and even possessions, in order for us to achieve the visions we have for our lives, we have to get comfortable with sacrifice. Sacrifice! First up is our time. And for most goals and dreams to be achieved on the competitive field called planet Earth, this means straight away, most of our time needs to be sacrificed to its pursuit. Days need to be restructured, schedules need to be optimized and then re-optimized. We have to make improvements along the way, achieving small goals towards our bigger goals, which reveals more goals that must be achieved. Oh no! And the cycle of achievement and sacrifice increases rather than decreases, and the time all this will take expands until it stretches over years. Nothing of significance is ever achieved without serious investment and serious sacrifice, fed by the engine of worship to some degree or another. The official definition of sacrifice is about possessions and slaughter, but for most of us, the version of sacrifice we must get comfortable with to achieve our dreams is about time and states of mind and behaviors that lead us nowhere. Toxic relationships, drugs, and the pursuits of the flesh. All these, and probably a few others, must find their way on the chopping block and be replaced with focus, single-mindedness of purpose, time management, proper sleep, early mornings, doing nothing to escape, tending to the spirit over the flesh, and alignment with God, and finding a way to co-create with Him with the purpose of serving more than just ourselves, so that sacrifices we make become an act of worship, and so that our motivation becomes otherworldly. This will strike some as an overstatement, and indeed, there are legions of non-believers who find incredible levels of success, but even for them, they then had to apply these same principles onto their vision, shifting a worship from God to a worship for their goal. Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos come to mind, where everything fell into the background of their visions. And of course, there are rare characters born with the psychology of success, where perhaps the realms of the spiritual don't need to factor in so heavily at all. But then again, all we really know of those stories is what we've been told, and most simply will not communicate about the spiritual realms and their psychological makeups and how it factors into their successes or not, which deities, if any, they aligned themselves with or not. But in all things, there are of course rare exceptions, and my concern here is not to speak to natural-born success machines who let nothing stand in their way. My concern is for those of us, the many more of us, who are stuck, who are trapped, who are submerged, who can't find a way out of a rut, locked into behavior patterns which repeat the cycles of letting themselves down and their visions down on a loop of torment. For us, we need a kind of supernatural reset. That's who I'm talking to. So the success machines in the world are born with the psychology of sacrifice already in place. For them, it's as simple as tying their shoes. It's a matter of course, and nothing will get in their way, absolutely nothing. Many more of us are mired and lost in demonic strongholds which will defeat us until we can access the power of sacrifice in service of our vision. This then becomes a question of motivation Ambivalence is yet another demonic stronghold that we must overcome. Those success machines I spoke of, they don't even know what ambivalence is in relation to their dreams. It's like a rumor they heard about. It's a joke for them. But for so many others, ambivalence is a prison that they can never break out of. They approach the prison bars of their dreams. They shake the doors a few times every now and then, put a coffee cup across them, and when it doesn't open, they just go back in the corner of their cell and escape again in whatever cheap way they can find. And that defines, sadly, most people's lives. People in that state aren't going to make it out of the cage without supernatural help, without shifting their vision to God and addressing the spiritual realms with everything they've got. They could go to a shrink and talk about the cage, explore the reasons why the cage is there, essentially putting the cage on a kind of pedestal while putting most of their focus on the past, the story of what happened to them, where they play the role of the victim, explaining why the cage is so important as they reinforce it really into their identity. Or they can earnestly ask God for help to remove the damn cage, to break free from ambivalence and rebuke the demonic strongholds that make up the bars of the cage, essentially elevating themselves to a place where they can begin to sacrifice their time and energy towards a vision or a dream. I'm also not saying that some awareness and insight into the stories of our past can't be helpful, but what I am saying is overly focusing on it can be its own kind of booby trap. But back to the success machines who are born with a psychology of sacrifice in place. They need not lift a finger to get there. They are born there. But for most of us, the place of sacrifice is its own mountaintop. For us, we must embark on a hero's journey to get there. Perhaps take a breath when we're there and then embark on yet another hero's journey with a changed psychology. For us, there is no solution but a spiritual one, in my opinion. And mind you, this is just my opinion, but what we are talking about is rewiring our psychological makeup and understanding that there are, in fact, other active entities involved with our patterns of behavior. And beyond an initial understanding of our personal history, I don't see how a rehashing of the story of our past for $300 an hour is going to release us from its cages. That seems more like inviting in an interior designer and painting the bars different colors while making friends with them. No, what we need is a miracle, frankly. We need the cage to disappear. We need it to crumble like sand under our feet. We need supernatural healing. And so the solution I'm speaking of requires faith and belief. I understand that's too much of a leap for some, so I'm talking to the ones that don't feel that way. For you, it's possible. For you, sacrifice becomes about overcoming ambivalence and enlisting the help of God through prayer in a daily and habitual way, asking for help from the heart, and watch as the miraculous begins to unfold as actual help arrives. And once the cage falls away, then you are at the place the success machine started from. Life's not fair. And from there, sacrifice is all about the time I already listed, the things I already listed, time and habits, etc. Those are the things we need to sacrifice in order to achieve our dream. As the engine of worship is revving, worship is the opposite of ambivalence. In order to achieve maximum sacrifice, we have to worship what we are building. Again, with the success machines, this quality was born into them. For the rest of us, it will mean aligning our vision with the will of God, so that to worship what we are building, we aren't just building it for us, but for Him and through Him and all of humanity. This is the pathway from ambivalence to supercharged, supernatural, genius creator. For those of us born with loser psychologies fed into the mouths of demons, to change ourselves from the sacrificed to the ones who sacrifice. That's what it's all about, baby. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And tell me if you think I'm a mental patient or if you think I'm on point. What do you guys think about sacrifice and how important it is to achieving our dreams? How do you sacrifice? And just also the idea that we're not all born from the same psychological makeup. A lot of us have many hurdles to overcome.